especially you. We lose track of time. I wanted to thank you for being here tonight, first of all.
Appreciate it.
Look, I want to start with this fentanyl story. This is absolutely terrifying. David said it. Every parent should be alarmed. You're a parent yourself. In light of your job, you're taking on the opioid industry, really. But what do you think about when you hear that these 16-year-olds have died from something they didn't even know was in these pills?
Yeah, he said it very well. If you're a parent, pay attention to what's going on, because the opioid epidemic is really sweeping communities all across our state and country. Race, class, age, gender, it doesn't matter. It impacts everybody. So parents really need to be vigilant with their kids.
Do you talk to your kids about this?
They're 11 years old. They're twins. They're 11. And so it's a little early for that. But they have two helicopter parents with myself and my wife, Colleen. We keep pretty close tabs on them. But they're 11 years old. But the right time, absolutely, we'd be communicating with them.
Well, how have you seen this crisis really just explode in our region? I know it's happening across the country, but you're getting a firsthand experience in our communities as to what they're seeing.
Absolutely. So just to put this in perspective, we see in Washington State, on average, 2 overdose opioid deaths every day. So that's not an overdose, that's an overdose death every day on average. So it's really an epidemic. And so when I'm out there speaking to the public, folks are coming all the time. Their child is in the grips of this epidemic, or a colleague is. So it's widespread, and that's why we have litigation challenging companies like Purdue Pharmaceutical.
Yeah, so I imagine these stories really drive you in that.
Absolutely.
Purdue Pharma did declare bankruptcy. I know that complicates your case against them. You're not joining the class action lawsuit. You're standing alone as a state. How is that lawsuit going? Given that they declared bankruptcy, are you going to be able to get justice for these communities?
We plan on it. So we were one of the very first states to file a lawsuit against Purdue Pharmaceutical. They're the manufacturer of OxyContin. We believe they really fueled this opioid epidemic. We did not just file a lawsuit and sit on the case. We've litigated it. So we have a trial date right here in King County on February 24th. We're going to try and ask that bankruptcy judge to allow our trial to go forward so we can have accountability against Purdue Pharmaceutical in a courtroom.
Why is it important to do that?
Well, because I've talked to so many parents, for example, who have lost their kids, who say, yes, money in a settlement's important. That's important to help folks who may be in the grips of addiction. But they want to be able to walk into a courtroom and see executives from Purdue Pharmaceutical brought into court and have to swear under oath on what they knew and when they knew it, and have transparency on documents that are currently under seal that be made public if we go to trial. And I think the public has a right to know what this company knew, when they knew it, and what they chose not to do to protect the public.
Well, it's not the only thing you're working on. I want to switch gears a little bit. Your latest lawsuit, the 50th, 5-0, against the Trump administration right now. This one having to do with rollbacks to the Endangered Species Act. Look, you know that I talk a lot about our southern resident orcas and how they're struggling out here. Why take this case on?
So, in fact, I was watching some of your stories about the southern resident orcas, and this, unlike the opioids, is something I have spoken to my kids about. They get the idea of those orcas are here now, but could go extinct in their lifetime. Something that would help facilitate that extinction, unfortunately, is the action by the Trump administration to roll back the protections of the Endangered Species Act, which was voted in unanimously by the United States Senate about 40 years ago. So we're challenging that to make sure that that Endangered Species Act can continue to protect endangered species.
I cover a lot of your lawsuits. The biggest criticism that I see from some people here in Washington is that they feel that you just continue to hammer the Trump administration. Feels a little partisan, maybe. Do you think it's partisan? Why 50 lawsuits? Why continue to go after the Trump administration like this using taxpayer dollars?
Sure. When people say something's political, that's what they say when they don't actually have an argument. We've won 22 straight cases against this administration. We literally have not lost a single case. The better question is not, why do I file the lawsuits? That's my job if someone's harming Washingtonians. The better question is, why can't the president take actions that actually follow the rule of law? He's lost 22 in a row. And look, I take no pleasure in filing 50 lawsuits, but we're going to continue filing them if he continues to violate the law.
And one of those other ones is military spending for that border wall. We hear that Washington State could be impacted by that. Real quick, can you just tell people what your categories are to say, yes, I will file a lawsuit against the administration, so it's not just a random thought process?
Sure. So it's 3 questions I focus on. 1, do we have good legal arguments? Number 2, are Washingtonians being harmed? And number 3, can I, as Attorney General, bring the lawsuit? If the answers are yes, yes, and yes, we file the lawsuit. If there's no in there, we don't. So I'm disciplined about that. I think that's part of the reason why we've yet to lose a case.
And as far as, is this costing the taxpayers more money because of this?
Yeah, basically it's negligible because the attorneys and professional staff who do this work in what we call our affirmative divisions, civil rights, consumer protection, and there are not taxpayer dollars that fund those operations. They're actually paid through recoveries from cases that we bring. We also return millions back to consumers and millions back to the state general fund. So our affirmative divisions are actually that rare thing in state government, a revenue generator for the people and the state government, and they pay for their operations.
Attorney General Bob Ferguson, thank you so much for
Thanks
coming
for having
in
me. Really
today.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely. David, Jamie, back to you.
All right, thank you, Simone.